Good afternoon. How are you again?
Good, good. I'm watching you on TikTok.
I know we're watching it. My guys, we're live on TikTok as well, and we're just trying to work out how we can go live. It's a work in progress, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll get there. Obviously, we were laughing before we come on. Obviously, a wee bit novice with the TikTok, but
I tell you what, the exciting thing is we're going to be talking about how to predict your future.
Yeah.
And a lot of people out there think, "Oh, your future's predestined." And all. Is it predestined, or can you change it? What do you think?
No, I don't believe so. I think your future is very much how you plan and path it out. What you do gives you the results further down the line, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today.
I would agree. It really is that sort of thing. Let me get my notes, because I actually took some notes down in here about where we are and what we're doing. You know what? Oh, let me think about this. You know, Oscar Wilde once said, knowing what you want is almost like a punishment when you get it. And it took me a while to actually work out what that meant by that.
Right.
And I think what he's getting to is the fact that you're almost predestined that your future's ahead of you straight away. And yes, that can be predicting your future, but then it leaves you no flexibility. Not knowing at this point, this is all about when you're a younger age, to be honest.
Yeah.
When you're a younger age, not knowing where you are in life is possibly the best thing you could ever be, because you're open to all ideas and opportunities. So don't shoehorn yourself into one single thing and say that is it for the rest of my life. Because, well, look at me, I've retrained probably about 5 different times.
Do you know what that makes me think of is I remember being at school, leaving school, or at that point in life, and it's like I didn't have a clue. And a lot of people around me were like, "Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this," and I'm like, I didn't know. And I remember feeling really panicked and feeling like I needed to put myself in a certain category and work towards a certain thing. And now when I look back, that's not the case. And do you know what I mean? It's like, but you're programmed like that. And when you're younger, it's like this pressure to pick one thing and steer for that. And I think that's not always the case.
Yeah. I mean, are we encouraging? This is another one I noticed the other day. I read a lot, you know that, and I engage with a lot of different stuff, and you know I share a lot as well over our private channels. But one of the things I actually noticed was this entitlement culture. Where is that coming from? What is that all about? And I kind of thought about it a wee bit more, and I thought, we're teaching our children to be entitled to everything. I think, but how are we doing that? Because everything that we've done beforehand, before you have children, you've actually made a complete mess of everything. I mean, you've gone through all the shitstorm before, haven't you?
Yeah.
So by the time you have the children, it's like, oh, we're Mr. Responsible now. You know what I mean? So it's like now it's like the fleas in the jar. You put the lid on the jar and you train the flea to jump only so high. For people that don't understand this is how people are predestined. This is how people are conditioned in their own life itself. This is the fleas in the jar scenario. So you have how do you train a flea only to jump 5 inches when a flea can actually jump 36 inches? You leave a flea on the ground, it'll jump 36 inches, I'll guarantee you that. It'll probably jump even more. But you can train that flea to jump 5 inches every single day in, day out. That's how they train them in the flea circus. You used to have these wee flea circuses and used to pretend. And I know they used to pretend, but they did actually used to train fleas. And then they would put the lid on the jar at 5 inches. And the flea would keep hitting its head all the time and went, to hell with this. I'm needing to jump just so much under that in order to not hit that lid. And you're talking about a wafer thin amount, and they would never hit the lid after there. So the flea trained itself to jump only so high, just right under 5 inches, a micron right under 5 inches. That's what a tree trained itself to do. Mummy flea comes along in the same jar and does exactly the same thing, bangs her head and then trains herself to jump only 5 inches. Think about this. This is exactly what we do when we get our children. Our children then come along, and our children can jump 36 inches from birth. But what did they actually see? They see mummy and daddy only jumping 5 inches every single day in, day out. And that's why we end up training our children to be almost self-entitled, because we've now gone through all the shitstorm that's happened before, but we've now got to this is the way we are now, and why are we not entitled? And we actually, our kids see us doing that.
Yeah.
So our children are a reflection of what we are right now in society.
I think
And it's the same example. And people wonder, how on earth? And the reason that some of these children excel way beyond their parents is because they look at their parents and go, I am never going to be like that. Mm-hmm. And they actually are pulled by their dreams, or they're pushed by their circumstances to excel at what they do. If they're neither, I'll guarantee you, they will not do anything. And they will come out like a carbon copy of their mother and father. And the people round about them that are actually supporting them all the time. Do you not think that's the case? I mean, I don't know about you, but to hell with it, I never wanted to be. I'll never be like you, Dad. I see the same things as him. Oh my God, I'm exactly like him. I'm a bloody carbon copy.
I see a lot of traits. It's funny, the flea in the jar thing's a brilliant analogy for inherent traits that people pick up for their parents, and if you pick them up, you pass them on to your kids, and you see it quite a lot. And I see it myself. Like you say, you see it in yourself as well. Yeah. Change your background.
Move location.
You moved from.
Some people out there will be thinking, how did you manage to do that?
If anybody watched and skipped away to make a coffee and come back,
Jim's like, I've moved house. So we're teaching our children. I mean, you've got. I think most of our society, and I've seen it before, and really up to the age of 30, you should be trying and experimenting everything. If you're under 30 years old, you should be going for it right now. You should look at your dream and think, then maybe that's unachievable, but to hell it, I'm going to go for it right now, because you've got the best time of your life ahead of you. You know, all the responsibility stuff comes later on. Forget that. You're probably staying with your parents. You're probably earning money and doing something else. So just focus on what you do right now and go for it. Go for it. Aim big, hit big targets, have big dreams, have big goals, because even if you fail, it doesn't matter. You've probably learned something in the process, and it's not as big as failing when you're about 40, when you've got a house and you've got kids and you've got a wife and everything like that. You know, that's the thing. So now is the time to do it when you're a lot younger and actually try and experiment in everything it's going. I think that's the most important thing. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I was just going to agree with you there. I mean, if you're at that age where you didn't have so much responsibilities financially or children and family and things, aim big and have big aspirations. And do you know what? If you fail or you have to learn for these fails, you've plenty of time to do that, and that's how you learn. Obviously, we discussed quite a lot of tactics in here, Jim, which you've tried and tested and failed at in yourself, and passing on that knowledge. But people will make their own mistakes in their own journey, and that's a failure. Isn't I mean, people take it quite personally when they fail at something, but it's just the process of learning. And it's conditioning your mind to realise that, all right, that never worked, I'll do it a different way, and learn for that rather than feel like a failure.
That is where it comes back to predicting your future, isn't it? Because I keep saying you will get what you really desire the most. This is quite an interesting one I want to talk about. The man who loves walking will walk further than the man who loves the destination. The man who loves walking will walk further than the man who loves the destination. Does that make sense?
Because they enjoy the journey, right, as opposed
because you've probably noticed a shift in how I talk, but I don't talk about a destination, do I, anymore? I don't talk about. I mean, I have set goals, and I've set short-term goals, I've set medium goals, and I've set long-term goals. But I never talk about the fact that I have an ultimate destination anymore. When I ultimately wanted to retire, you know, I wanted to retire before I was 40. That was an ultimate destination for me. I wanted to be a financial director before I was 30. That was an ultimate destination for me. But after that, I didn't have anything else. And what I learned from that was I never actually enjoyed the journey towards it. I just knocked my pan in all the time.
Yeah.
In order to get to it. And once I got to it, it was like, what do I do next?
Yeah.
It's like, I've not really. So by loving the journey and actually loving what you do, you will achieve a hell of a lot more than the person who's actually loves the destination. And that's the thing I've learned out of the most. The millionaire thing was achieved when I retired at 38-year-old, and that was 17 years ago. And I had no concept that was possible at that time. I just had belief and faith in myself it was going to happen. But you could almost be predestined to actually achieve something, but you don't need to know what that is yet. You just need to keep swinging for the fence every single day. And by getting up and swinging for the fence every single day, that'll ultimately get you to where you want to be. But don't worry about where that is, because the natural process of the laws of attraction, if anybody knows what that is, laws of attraction, look it up, will lead you to the right path that you want to be on by the way you act and the way you associate and interact with other people.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, Jim, a lot of people get too wrapped up on the journey, with focusing maybe too much on the end game or the end goal. Like you say, and get there and think, oh, I'm here. Rather than maybe enjoying the whole process and working out the strategies of how to get there and how you're going to obviously tackle each task and things. And that's obviously something that you're really good at and really take a lot of pleasure in working things out and doing the numbers and making sure everything plans out the way you expect it to, and if not, finding a way around that. And that can be really enjoyable. And a lot of people maybe take time to enjoy the journey as opposed to, like you say, the destination.
Just learning from loads and loads of other people as well, though. I think I'm not really sure if anybody would be quite surprised that I actually bought John Lydon's book recently. I just got it the other day, and it's the one of the. I'm reading Jordan Peterson's one just now, 12 Rules. But I'm actually John Lydon's going to be next, and it's about anger and how anger's actually helped him in his success coming on. Now, years ago, I would just dismiss someone like that, like a total idiot. But the reality is, this guy's been successful at something. So what is it he's got, or what is it he's learned, or what is it he's done in order to be successful at that? And that's what intrigues me the most about, people that are successful. How are they successful? Why are they successful? And what has led to their success? Because by learning from other people more successful than you, clearly, obviously is, then you'll obviously learn something which will benefit you in the medium to long term as well.
Yeah, it's like we have looked at. I've been watching some of Grant Cardone's stuff, and he's like way out there and like doing things on another level. But if you look at some of his videos and listen to what he's saying, it relates to what you do on a smaller scale, obviously, for what he's doing. He is a bit out there, but really good at the same time.
Yeah. Afternoon, Perry. How are you? Any questions? Please feel free to ask. Anybody out there, show some love, hit these buttons, share this post, tag people, and at the end of the day, this is all free content, free information, and literally, most people, what they say about free. Well, it's not really worth that then. But the reason that we do this is so I can put on record and in podcasts and that for my children in the future. So when they're at the point of readiness, they will learn from what I've learned already, because I'll have probably popped my clogs by then. So it's all gone. Yeah. So when you think about the logic of that, it's all gone, and not actually putting this down is, to me, almost criminal to a degree, because it's like all that wealth of information that you've learned over all the years, all that track record and experience that you've taken in, all the wisdom you've got, and you're not even going to impart that to other people as well. So that's the reason why we're predominantly doing this wealth creation show, is for that reason. I've got a fantastic, this has been out your comfort zone. This is great. I was watching something for David Bowie, an interview, and the thing I picked up on the most, he says, look, if you feel safe where you are right now, you're probably not actually in the right area in your life. And he says, what he actually says, always go a little bit extra, more out of your depth. Just to that point where you're just out of your depth, but you can tippy toe onto the bottom now and again, just to keep yourself afloat. And he says that's about the right place where something exciting is going to happen. And I thought that's a fantastic way to look at it. Is the fact that just that wee bit extra, because if you're never out of your comfort zone, you'll never do anything. Because you're not uncomfortable. It's like, why would I want to do anything? If I'm uncomfortable, great, I'm learning something. That's the key as well. When you're uncomfortable, you've got to look at it on the principle that if you're uncomfortable with something, you're probably learning something new. Now, don't look at it as a good or bad experience. Do it first, and then you'll find out if it's good or bad. Clearly, obviously, if it's something stupid like murder, then I don't advise that.
I would
They come back and say, Jim told me if I was out of my comfort zone to go and do it. Obviously, if it's breaking the law, then I don't advise you to do it. But I'm talking about just out your comfort zone, about phoning that person, about getting in touch with someone, about sitting down with someone and asking them questions and learning from them. A classic now is, well, two people have actually approached me already. Are probably the only two people that have ever approached me for advice on how to get into stages in that. I actually hired them because I thought, my God, have you had the balls to actually? Incidentally, they're both women, so excuse the pun. But have you had the nerve to actually come along and do that and actually say to me, how do I get into a stage and say, what should I do and how I should do it? God, I'm probably going to employ you straight away, because the very fact that you've taken that time to put yourself out your comfort zone to actually do that says to me a lot. Absolutely. Obviously, it took a wee interview in between, but I mean, that's the reality. That's what actually happens. So I actually love that. I mean, what about you, Richard? I mean,
I do really like that, and I would tend to really agree with that. And I think through my own journey, I've realised that, and speaking to a lot of people over the years, trainers and things, they always push the premise that you need to push yourself out your comfort zone to make things happen. And I think a lot of the time people get confused about being, if they're not happy, as opposed to being uncomfortable. It's not that. Some people are like, oh, I'm not happy, but it's because they're out the comfort zone. And being out your comfort zone and being happy are two different things. And I do a lot of things on I was going to say a weekly, but a daily basis. I think getting that maybe sometimes I think, God, I'm not too comfortable doing this, but I do it anyway. And I think we done a book. We used to do a book club, Jim, and we really went through Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And I did really take a lot from that because I actually took the time and I read it and I listened to a lot of what was in it. And that's one of the things we're talking about today, about disciplining yourself and things. And that's one of the parts of my journey at the moment. So this is quite relevant today for me, planning ahead, because there's things that I'm trying to get myself disciplined to do as well.
Absolutely. Dr. Susan Jeffers, who is actually no longer here, I don't believe. And just think about how that is continuing to touch other people's lives. And this is why we do this. This is why we're doing the show. This is why I'm doing it. I mean, again, I'm coming back to saying, love the journey. A guy that loves the journey, will walk a lot longer than a person that loves the destination. There is no destination in sight here. It's just actually loving the journey and actually imparting the knowledge and actually interacting with other people. The amount of people that have actually come to me, have actually never known, or have maybe known about over the years, and have now come to me as a result of what I'm doing, and we've actually got to talking. And I always say to myself, and I remember this was a huge phrase that somebody said, a stranger is just a friend you've not met yet.
Yeah.
And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. That was Jerry Scriven that actually said that.
Not a friend.
Jerry obviously got that from somebody else.
Stranger you've not met yet.
Yeah, I mean, stranger's just a friend you've not yet met, and that's the reality. So this is all about, if you are where you are right now and you're not happy with where you are right now, I mean, or you're uncomfortable with where you are right now, then congratulations, you've obviously recognized that you need to do something about it.
Yeah.
And this is all about changing your direction then, or changing, or slightly changing. I'm not saying let's make a huge overhaul overnight. I'm going to quit my job tomorrow and I'm going to go into property for the rest of my life. It's like, that is not the thing to do. It's like, what I did was I actually worked at property at the same time as working at my job, and I worked smart enough to actually be able to build it up to a point where I was actually earning more money than what I was doing outside. I was actually able to give up the job, or even go down to part-time I actually probably went down to part-time because they asked me to come back as a consultant. And I did that for 3 months and I got bored of it and I thought, I've had enough. I'm leaving definitely this time. Oh, there you go. I've dropped everything on the ground. Anyway, give me 2 seconds. Talk amongst yourself, Richard.
Yeah, I just noticed on the TikTok, because obviously I'm watching you live, that the camera's down, but you're just a bit back up.
Yeah, give me 2 seconds. I'm going to just put that back, and I'm actually better lighting without that light. Actually, that's probably better. My light's going out as well. So let's talk about changing direction. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to. I mean, I've made notes for what to cover today, and I think you've probably noticed by looking at the notes, they're a wee bit of reflection of what, like, obviously my own kind of views on it. But I think it's universal. It applies to everybody. If you want to obviously start with changes, you need to do them today, now, tomorrow, at the latest. Do you know what we need? If you want to start making changes and things to be different for the 5 years coming, you need to change them now. And you will notice. And it's like you sent me a link to a thing that I was watching last week, Jim. It was quite good. And the guy says if you don't plan to make any changes, he says it's easy to predict what you're going to do for the next 5 years. Just look at the last 5, because it's not going to change.
How would you expect that to change?
Yeah,
you are where you are because of the decisions you've made and the decisions you failed to make in your life. And it was maybe the other night I was watching a comedian on Netflix. Now he's actually just gone on and he talks about his drug problem, and he talks about his gambling problem, and he talks about the amount of times he's been in and out of rehab. And he says, do you know what? He says, if it wasn't for that though, I wouldn't be standing here on stage on it doing a Netflix for my show. He says, because this is the stuff I talk about, and this is the idiocracy of the way I was with my life and what I thought and all these different things. And I thought, you're exactly right. And that's why I can't understand sometimes when people say, if there's one thing you would change in your life, or you tell yourself from years ago to do, what would that be? And I'm like, oh my God, I would never change anything. I'm exactly where I want to be, and I know where I'm going, and I have faith in where I'm going. But why would I want to change anything in my past? Could you imagine if your children were never born? Could you imagine if you were never where you are right now? Could you imagine, all these different things? And it's like one wee change is that butterfly effect to think to yourself, wow, why? And so why would I dwell on that? And why would I think in the past, I should have changed this, I should have done that? No, I just learn from it. And next time I know what to do next time. That's it, really. So it's not about obliterating your past. It's about embracing your future, because it's got everything ahead of you. But again, I've come back to saying you've got to have faith in where you want to do, and you've got to make these changes to go in the direction you want to go in. And you need to make a choice of the change or commit, don't you?
Yeah. So I think the question probably everybody will be asking, and I know I asked when I was kind of thinking, is what kind of changes can you make? Does it have to be big drastic changes, or could you just do small changes? Now I've listed some that I'm personally trying to discipline myself to do at the moment.
Well, what would these sort of things be then for you?
Well, at the moment, I am trying to, it's the morning get up at a certain time and stick to the same time, out with the dog. Do you know what I mean? Do that, try and do that religiously. And people might think, well, how's that going to change? Well, do you know what? I feel a lot fresher. I start my day earlier. I get a lot more done. I've got a lot more focus. So that's one thing. Change my eating habits and my fitness habits. Obviously, I've started doing that.
I think eating and fitness is a huge thing. Now,
on mindset,
let's be honest. You could do one bit at a time. So here's how everybody goes. Oh my God, you're vegan. How on earth did you do that? I mean, I could never cut out dairy and cut out meat just like that. But it took me 7 years to get to that stage. And the reason I got to that stage was I never went out of my way and thought I'm going to be a vegan. I never did anything like that at all. All I did was I was out with my friend. We were training Christian Delacour, and now maybe people will know Christian. Christian was a vegetarian at the time. He was my sensei in kendo. And Christian went out to do training with me in Spain while he was going to run along the beach 26 miles every day with a backpack on in the soaring heat. He was training for the MDS, which is the Marathon des, which is I think it's 6 marathons in 7 days across the Sahara Desert on by feet. And so he said at the time, for that week that we were out, well, I'm vegetarian, and I went, well, I'll just buy everything vegetarian, and I'll have a vegetarian for all that time. Now, I think Tony, my daughter, had possibly made an attempt to go vegan, or she was going vegan. Maybe she wasn't at that time. Maybe it was yeah, possibly. And then I thought to myself, okay, I'll just do vegetarian for a week then, and then I'll go back to meat again. And then when I got to the end of the week after being vegetarian, I then realized it's like, wait a minute. And now the penny started to drop with me to say that actually, I never ever needed meat. This was something I'd always been conditioned into believing after a period of time that you needed a meat and 2 veg, if that makes sense.
And that's this inherent condition that.
Yeah, but the classic, the one that hit home for me was if protein's in baked beans and it's a higher level and higher quality of protein, it's in baked beans than it is in meat. Why do I need to eat the meat when I'm having beans and baked potato? And so why would I need to eat the meat? What would be the purpose of that? It's just a filler if that's the case. It's not actually giving me an inherent protein. It's any better than what the baked beans are. So I'm getting what I'm getting from that. So why would I need to eat the meat? And then it all started. And then it was the same with the cheese. The cheese had the protein as well. So why would I need to eat the meat if I've got cheese as well with it?
Yeah.
And then it had the fiber. And then so I had fiber in the vegetables. It's like, well, why would I need to eat anything that's got fiber other than the veg? And then the fiber in the baked potato. And then I started to put it all together, and I started, wait a minute, I'm a big cynicist, if that makes sense. I then wait a minute, the meat industry is trying to sell us a solution that actually we don't actually need. So it wasn't an inherent thing. I thought after that, I'm just going to stick to vegetarian. So then I stuck to normal milk. I stuck to cheese. I stuck to eggs, because we had hens with eggs as well. So I just stuck to all these different things, and I was vegetarian for about 4 years. And then maybe that was the time that Tony said she was transitioning, and she thought, I'm just going to be vegan. And then, so I was down to no eating meat at all. Now I was at the point where I was, I think I was doing things like, well, I can have a fish supper, stuff like that, maybe. Or I was going for white pudding suppers. That was it. I wasn't eating the meat with the fish. I was eating white pudding suppers, and white pudding suppers are obviously deep fried sometimes and fat and stuff like that, animal fat. But at that time, I didn't bother too much because I was cutting out most of it. And then I started to cut that out as well. And then when I was about to go vegan, I was only really down to, I'd cut out milk because I'd replaced it with organic soya. Don't drink normal soya. Drink organic soya if you can, because normal soya has pesticides and all the rest of it from treating the soya meat. And same with meat as well. Meat's got the same. It's got, stuff in it. Obviously the cattle's treated with as well. So you're getting things like indoctrinated into antibiotics and that the cattle's using. So that's why.
Oat milk, though.
Yeah, well, you can use oat milk as well. These other things as well. But that was my point. I transitioned towards that over 4 years. And then eventually what happened was, there was 1 year at Glastonbury said every other vendor at Glastonbury is going to be a vegan. There's going to be vegan options. And I thought, it's a perfect opportunity to change then.
Yeah.
So then I just cut out cheese and I cut out eggs, and that was the end of it. And vegan from then on. So it took a long time. But that's what I mean. It takes everybody. What I'm trying to say to everybody, no matter what you want to do, don't think you can do it straight away. Just build up to it. I look back in 2018, and I saw a post the other day saying I was at the White Chimneys with my bike, and I said, "That's me 70 miles in on my bike." I was like, "What?" I can't do 70 miles on my bike now because I've been injured for, off and on for a while. Lockdown came in and all the rest of it. And I thought, God, getting back to 70 miles. So the 70 miles, though, didn't happen overnight. Again, that was built up over time. So it wasn't, again, a big, huge transition into, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do 70 miles a day. It's like, no, I just went out on my mountain bike. I kind of said to the boys, it was Mike, Davey, and Bob actually tricked me into going out on my mountain bike. And we went out on our mountain bikes, and then they got me into cycling. And then all of a sudden, after cycling, I thought, oh, this is really good. And I thought, well, what else could I do? And then I saw the Brownlee brothers doing triathlon on a Sunday morning when I was up early. And I thought, oh, I could swim, and I could run. And then I started going out walking, and I started running every now and again. And again, I'm not back to the running I used to do. I'm not a marathon running anymore. But I can get back to that and provide my knees okay. So these are all things that I'll transition back into, but I'm not going to beat myself up about it. And that's the key as well. Don't beat yourself up.
It's the same thing. It's the thing like people do the diet thing. Start Monday and just try to do cold turkey Monday, and it never works. And there's a reason it never works, because you need to build yourself up to it. And,
well, the classic of that is you see people saying, oh, I'm going to start tomorrow. And the first words out of my mouth are, well, start today then. Why not just start? Oh, but I've got this big cream donut in front of me. Oh, no, discipline yourself. Put the cream donut down now, and just give it to someone else. Even throw it in the bin, and you're done.
Yeah,
that's the first step. You have to take that. You can't, because I know what's going to happen. It'll always be tomorrow. You know the thing about tomorrow? Tomorrow never comes. It'll never happen for you. If you keep saying tomorrow, it'll never happen, because tomorrow will never come. It's today, it's now, it's in the present.
Yeah.
And they call it present for a reason, because the present is a gift that you should always have and always look after. And that's why it's so important. Tomorrow never comes, and the past is in the past, and there is absolutely no future in it at all. So look at the present as a gift, move forward from that, and focus on what you need to do and what you want to do. But just do the baby steps process all the way through. This is how you can predict where you're going to be in 5 and 10 and 20 years' time. Matthew McConaughey actually stood up on the stage one time, and you know, if you type in Matthew McConaughey in his famous speech, but he actually said, he says, have you got any heroes or any idols you look up to? And he goes, absolutely, me in 10 years' time. He says, because in 10 years' time, that'll be the person I always wanted to be. And he says, I've got it mapped out who I always want to be. So that's the person in 10 years that I want to be. And he says, in 5 years' time, when I get to 5 years in, it'll still be the person in 10 years' time. And that's always the person he's chasing to be, that person he wants to be in 10 years' time. So it's always 10 years' time from the time that he thinks about who's the person I want to be and what he envisages what he wants to be in 10 years' time. It's a fantastic speech. And I would recommend anybody actually tune in on it, because it is effectively what it is. I mean, people talk to me about, have I got any, you know, mentors or, you know, people I would look up to and all the rest of it. I'm not really sure if I ever did. I just looked at other people and thought, you're successful at something. How did that happen for you? Is it something I can apply to what I do? And if the answer was to yes, and yeah, it made sense, then I would do it. If it was no, because it wasn't the path I wanted to take, then I would maybe glean something out of it, but I would just leave it. And that's why I learn from other people, and that's why I'm going to read John Lydon's autobiography next.
Yeah, rather than trying to concentrate on one person or hone in on what one person is doing, learn from several different people and take bits from each individual, like an array of successful individuals, and create your own path, I suppose.
I've got to say thank you, Alice, Angela, for actually saying you're so well disciplined, Jim. If only you know. Because I tell you what, I can't resist a chocolate bar. Straight in there. And it's no, people actually said to it, was it you, Richard, that said, you only just eaten 2 squares? I went, no, I mean the whole lot.
Aye, but then do you know, I think that you are quite well disciplined, Jim, but it's come with a lot of sacrifice and training and things like that. So then, do you really feel bad if you eat 1 chocolate bar maybe now and again?
I couldn't care less. It doesn't matter. I'm up and down with that. It doesn't bother me. I used to get bent out of shape about it. There's another one. Bernard D'Souza used to talk to me about that all the time. Getting bent out of shape. You know how you have Daffy Duck, where Daffy Duck goes, eat up, eat up. So when you get, oh, you need to do it like this, and you need to do it like that. You need to do it like this, and you need to do it like that, and then the next minute, like you're like this, right? I'm ready to go, and it's like, well, you're no, are you? Because you've clearly, you know what I mean. You've put yourself into a box. You've given yourself no flexibility at all, and that in the process of how you want to be, what you want to be in the next 5, 10, 20 years, when your future wants to be as well, because you've shoehorned and shoeboxed yourself into that position. You don't know where you're going to go. You don't know where it's going to take you. This is why I come back to saying it's about enjoying the journey, not the destination. If you enjoy the journey every day, Richard, and you'll probably agree with this, and anybody out there, if you agree with this, stick some love in the box or something like that, you know, number 5 or whatever. Put a number 5 in the comments or anything like that if you agree with this. But it is about loving the journey, not the destination. If you love the journey, you will get up every single day, come hell or high water, and it will never faze you. You will feel great about every single day because you love the journey and the process, and nothing else matters to you. That's the key here. If anybody says anything, it will never really faze you. yeah, you get bent out of shape now and again, but you'll still go, so I'm just moving on anyway. I'll just move on to the next stage. I'll just move on to the next evolution and what I want to do. I'll attract the right people. I'll speak to the right people and get in touch with the right people. This is about engaging with the network. Now, this is quite interesting because it was Einstein, I think it said, you are where you are and you will be by the people you associate with and the books you actually read. And this is important because you will be. Because, and the reason, now, why do you think that is that statement, Richard? What's your thoughts on that? You are where you are by the people you associate in the books you read. Why do you think that would be?
Well, I think that the way you react and the way you conduct yourself is you draw for the people around you, and you obviously, so the people you associate with, whatever they're doing, will rub off on you. And I think that's next two on my list actually, and two that maybe I think a wee bit more difficult than changing my routine and my health and things like that. It's the people you associate and go around with, and then reading books. Reading books has always been a difficult one for me, and you know that. Although obviously I've been trying to do it, and like you say, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. But if you work on it, but yeah, that's the next two things I've got written down there that I'm working on myself as well.
But yeah, I noticed you had said your social habits and your people you associate with. Why do you think I do so many interactions? Why do you think I interview so many people? Why do you think I get involved in so many groups and organisations? Because it is different people that will lead you on your journey through your path. You never know who you know and what you want to achieve and how you want to get there. But someone somewhere will help you on that journey. Now, they might be with you for a short period of time. I could only thank all the people that have done that in the past that were with me with 5 Properties and Century 21 before, because they've led me to here as well. Even the people that didn't go so well for, with myself and them, and it didn't go so well for me with them. But that's fine. That led me to where I was, and it's the lessons I've learned as a result of that. So that's what you should take out of that. But more importantly, if you keep doing the same things that you're doing right now, and you keep thinking the way you're thinking, you'll get exactly the same results as you've got before. So the reason that you associate with different people and you interact with them, and you also have books and podcasts that you listen to, is to expand your thinking. This is down to remember the flea in the jar with the lid on it? Remember we spoke about that? Well, that's exactly where you are right now. Everybody's sitting in that jar right now with the people they associate with, and we're all jumping so high. So the only way you're ever going to jump out of that jar, or you're going to be able to jump, jump higher, is you're going to have to interact with people at a higher level who are possibly outside of that jar. That's where it comes in. That's where the people you associate with comes in. I can't remember. It was show me a good book clerk, an exceptional book clerk, and there'll be a book clerk for the rest of your life. But show me someone with a keen imagination for exploration, and I'll show you somebody that can change the world. And I'm sure that's Einstein, because he was a book clerk at the time. But it's true. It's the only people that change the world are the people that have got the imagination to do it. And if you were at school and on your report card, you had things like, he's always a dreamer, he looks out the window every day, and he's just no present in the thing. Congratulations. Congratulations. If you're a young person right now and that's what you're getting on your report card, congratulations, don't ever change, because it is the dreamers of the world that will change everything for society. You have to have some sort of different vision. You have to some sort of different way of looking at things, or nothing will ever change. We'll just keep the status quo. So that's important as well, about changing your direction and actually predicting your future about where you want to go and how you want to do it. Interestingly enough, the education system. This is, I've just touched on that now with people in school. I mean, I believe in education firmly. I definitely believe in education, because this is why I talk about learning from other people, reading books, and actually getting in touch with other people and going to functions and all the rest of it, right? But what I don't believe in, the way it's been packaged up today, and how we're doing it. Now, for some people, university and college aren't the answer. It is for if you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, or a dentist, or anything like that.
You need that
to go in terms of the education process. But let's be honest, that's only about a handful of professions. When you think about it, that's only a handful of professions. For other people, it's a totally different thing. And what I think the difficulty about the current packaged education system, folk aren't going to like it, is you can teach a fish to swim, right? And it can swim very well. And it'll be excel in that area. But if you try to teach it to climb a tree, it'll go about thinking it's stupid for the rest of its life. And that's what our education system does. We need things like this to be taught in school at that level, at a primary level, so children understand. I'm not talking about, you need to explore your humanity and all the rest of it. I'm not talking about that. I'm need to talk to you need to take on risk. You need to realize that risk is a thing. It is good in your life. It's not a thing to be rejected. It's not a thing to stay away from. Risk at a primary age and a secondary age and everything like that, and exploration and excitement and trying things new and getting things again. Let's put the proviso on this about it. If it's criminal, we're not doing it. I'm not endorsing it. But all these different things that you should be doing and encouraging your children, even your children, to do, go for it. Just go for it every single time. Go and see them right now when you get a chance, or lift the phone to them or send them a text and say, see all these things I used to say to you about, taking it easy and playing it safe and all the rest of it. You're young enough, go for it. You're staying at home. What's the worst that could happen? You've not got money to go out at the weekend. Big deal.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there to me, obviously, the need to, in the education system, teach and promote the people that maybe the dreamers that want to maybe dream big and think outside the box and things, because these are the people that do things differently.
You know what happens though when you get that? You're a dreamer. He's a dreamer.
But then you see a lot of successful people, and the stories that they tell is they were always the different ones at school. Do you know what I mean? And it was always the ones that stood out differently, and people, because obviously inherently people, oh, you're different, so then everybody else turns on them. But do you know what I mean? They're always the people that are more successful. And I think, like you say, the networking thing, to surround your people and interact with people that are different and think outside the box and are successful, you'll draw for that. Yeah. And then that's when it comes back to Einstein's things, where you are where you are by the people that you associate with. And
yeah, I mean, if you're a young person out there right now and you've got all your friends laughing at you, fuck them.
Yeah.
Don't bother. They're not your friends. Let's be honest. Move on, get new friends, associate with the people that you attract and you like yourself. Don't bother about these other people. You are there. You are unique in yourself. You are there. Let's go to the religious thing. You're made in the presence of God, right? So you're made to excel. You're made to stand out from everyone else. You're not meant to hide yourself. You're not meant to hide yourself under a bush or anything like that. You're meant to excel in what you're doing. You're meant to leave your mark. Someone said the other day, and I saw it, it's like, just be happy throughout your life. That's really good and all that. No. You're meant to help other people. We are put on this earth to help everyone else in what we're doing. Could you imagine if everybody focused on helping everyone else on this earth? Could you imagine it'd be a totally different civilization? We'd be a totally different ethos. We'd be a totally different culture as well. Instead, we have people that selfishly think about themselves all the time and teach other people round about them to do that as well. And that's what I think is entirely wrong within our system of education, because we educate that through people as a result. One of the things as well is offload that baggage. The key here is get rid of that baggage now. I saw The Rock the other day talking on Oprah Winfrey, and he was talking about when he was a young lad, a kid, and he's got the eviction notice on his door, and his mum and all the rent and everything like that, and the rent had to be paid, and his mum was like, we're going to be evicted within a week. And he says that still haunts him today and still sticks with him today. And he says he's still got that mentality, I've got to go to work, I've got to pay the bills. Now, I would say now that actually holds him back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it is at the time it was a driver. It pushed him, pushed by your circumstances. Pushed by your circumstances or pulled by your dreams. But now it's time to offload that, as far as I'm concerned, because that is obviously a barrier. That is now a lid on his thinking in terms of where he is. Now, who am I to tell The Rock what he should be doing? He's a very successful person, what he's doing. But in my opinion, I actually just see that now as a barrier to the way he thinks. He should actually be able to offload that and not actually think that that's something he's got to adhere to every single day, and that's something that almost haunts him now, rather than actually helps him, if that makes sense.
That's quite interesting, because that has obviously been the catalyst to drive him to being so successful. Yeah. But now he is so successful, you could let go of that now. You don't need that. Yeah. It's helped you and it's changed your mindset and things, but your mindset now needs to change to be even bigger and aspire to be even better.
But even for somebody at that level, people think they've arrived, but they've not arrived at all. I'll guarantee you, he would sit there and say the same thing. I've not arrived. He says, I'm just getting started. I'm just learning. I'm learning from everybody around about me, because you can see the different groups he goes about in with Kevin Hart and people like that. You know, all these different organizations. Kevin Hart goes, in with Grant Cardone. I mean, these people are all learning off each other and benefiting off each other's knowledge, and that's what helps him. It's the rising tide that lifts all ships, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's where it is. It's everybody helping everybody else achieve, and everybody else pulling in the right direction. I once saw a picture on a really successful person's wall at the back of him when he was sitting in his chair, and it had two horses pulling in different directions. And I thought, what was that all about? What's that all about? The picture? And he went, well, what it is, he says, it reminds me. He says, well, I'll tell you the story. He says, I'll tell you the story. He says, I once saw a farmer, right? And he told me this story, and it was like the horses pulling in different directions. He says, when you have two horses, when you have a horse pulling a load individually, a horse can maybe pull 10 tons, okay? And you have another horse pulling 10 tons. If you have the two horses pulling against each other, nothing's happening, they're not pulling anything. But did you know that when you put these two horses together, it can pull 10 tons each? They can pull 30 tons. How is that possible?
That's interesting. I was just going to say, how is that?
Yeah, because people that pull in the same direction can pull more than what they can pull individually themselves. Because it's the more thing about many hands make light work.
Yeah.
More gets done in the group than it does from the individual. And every single occasion, I used to doubt that years ago, because it's like, give it here, I'll do it myself.
I'm bad for that.
Give it here, I'll do it myself. Well, this is a lesson in itself, isn't it, Richard? Because I learned from this as well. Give it here, I'll do it myself. I can do it quicker. But what you don't realize is you're not leveraging your time anymore. Your time is now 160 hours a week because you're doing everything yourself. In order to multiply your efforts and multiply your results and have a lot more than what you would have individually, then you bring other people in to leverage your time, and they do the work as well as you do the work. So your 160 hours now becomes 200, 500, 1,000, 10,000 hours a week out of that one person, and that's how results are achieved. And that's another way you can, you're more or less, again, through your future, you're leveraging your position, you're leveraging your results, and again, you're more or less predicting your future. I talk about this all the time, don't I? It's like, I know what the answer is going to be before I start the journey.
Yeah, you said that to me quite a lot. And like you say about utilising your time and outsourcing and allowing people to help you and work as a team is so important. And it's something I've learned along the years, because I was really bad for, I'll just do it, and using up all my time and not efficiently in things. And so there's a lot to learn to that aspect as well. But the horse thing's quite a good analogy. I really like that, because it makes you really think, God, then rather than on your own and together, it's so much better.
Yeah, I got this proved to me from Keith Cunningham. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So Keith Cunningham, that's who it's about. He is Rich Dad. So I was on a course with Keith, and we were over in Paris. We were doing a workshop, and what we're asked to do was a survival guide. So here's the top 20 items you've got with you. If you were dropped in the desert or dropped in the Arctic, what would be the most important things you would have that you would say is the number one priority for you to have? Now, you had things like a bottle of water, some food, you had things like a mirror, you had a sewing kit, you had a gun, you had a flare, you had all these different things. and it says put them in order, right? So I put them in order of what I thought was necessary to survive in the desert or in the Arctic, and then he says, right, okay, now do it in a group, decide all together what it is. So we did the same exercise in a group, and every single time the group got higher marks than the individual did.
Yeah.
Because the group knows more, because they knew more, and it wasn't based on your limited thinking about what you thought and what you expected things to be. Because remember, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And when you speak to other people that don't know what you don't know, then that opens your mind to bigger possibilities and bigger opportunities. So that's another key point. People talk about this all the time. This is the one thing you can take out of this, right? If you don't have time to do anything right now, and this is what I was taught in the early days. I can remember Bernie D'Souza telling me, "Says Jim, what time do you go to your bed at night?" And I went, "Oh, I go to my bed probably about 11 o'clock." Okay. So what time do you get up in the morning? Oh, probably get up in my bed probably about 7 o'clock in the morning. So he says, I tell you what you can do. Either give yourself half an hour later before you go to your bed, or get up half an hour early in the morning and use that time productively. And I'm like, what, just half an hour? Is that it? And he went, well, think about it this way. He says, multiply that by 7 days. Okay, half an hour, 7 days, 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
He says, but multiply that by 52 weeks now. 3.5 hours. There's over 150 hours you've now got back. Now divide that by the normal working week, which is around about 37 hours. And even if it was 30 hours, for example, he says, now you've got 5 weeks that you've got to be productive. And yet you thought you didn't have any more time. And I've just given you 5 weeks.
Just be doing that extra half an hour.
Think about the extra half an hour that you could spend on your project, your lifestyle, rather than actually your living. I always say your day-to-day job provides for a living, but what you do outside of that provides for your lifestyle. And this is why I'm telling people what you do outside of that. People will spend more time on planning their next holiday than they will their financial future. That's tragic. Think about that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
More time planning something, rather than their financial future. Or they just kick it into the long grass. They don't think about it at all. They don't think about where they're going or what they want to be or where they want to go. Oh my God, it might be too painful for me to do that. That's why they think about it like that. So I'll just ignore it completely. Or they get some neggy in the background. That's a negative person, by the way. Some neg head. We call them neg heads, negative heads, neg heads. And you need to have a neg shell round about you. You need to form a neg shell, and this is where you're writing. This is where your reading comes from, and learning from other people more successful. Get this neg shell round about you. Stop the neg heads getting into you, the neggies, right? These are the people that say, "Why would you want to do that? Just be like me." Take a good look at them. Take a good look at them, because that's exactly how you'll be. Do you really want to be like them?
And that comes back to who you associate with and surround yourself with.
Exactly. That's what it comes down to, is the people you surround yourself. Hey, listen, you can love them, but you don't need to be with them all the time.
Yeah.
Your family's probably...
Yeah, I was just going to say that some people might be listening and think, okay, well, am I just expected to get rid of all my friends and exclude my family?
They're asking you to get rid of everybody. Yeah, in the early days, I used to go into people and say, I can't hang about you anymore because you're too negative. I'm off. Because that's how disciplined I am. It's like black or white to me. It's like, I can't hang around with you because you're too negative. See you later. It's like, what? But I'm talking about...
That's not what we mean.
Look at the classic example. I'll guarantee you, if you walk into your usual pub, you'll see the same people there, but 20 years older.
Yeah.
Doing exactly the same thing. Is that what you really want for your future and for your children's future? Because that's what you're teaching them as well. Yeah. To do exactly the same thing. If you're doing, your children will replicate what you do. There might be the odd one that'll go, I'm not going to do that. And that will inspire them to do something. But that's why we've got generations of children still on benefits. Because they don't know any different.
Yeah, and it's the inherent traits that they picked up.
Why do you think everybody still votes what their mum and dad votes for? Because that's all they know. That's all they've heard. They don't know any different. They've not got the time to find out anything different. Why do you think they've not got the time? Because the government keeps you so busy, they don't want you to think. They don't want people to think. They don't want you. They don't want you to just be a good worker ant. Just get your head down. Just work away. Go to college. Get the debt. Get the mortgage debt. Get all the other debt. Get the car debt. Get the payment plan debt. Get every other debt. And get on that hamster wheel and spin on that hamster wheel until we say you're ready to get off. And that's not going to be anytime soon, because you're not going to have the pension anymore to do that. And if you think company pensions is going to save you, think again, because you're all doing the same thing and you're all going to get the same result. So in order to get something different, you've got to be different from everyone else. You've got to do something extra, and it's the extra people that become extraordinary. That's all they are. That's all extraordinary people are. Just ordinary people that have done that wee bit extra every single day, the half an hour. Why do you think I read every single day? 20 minutes. 20 minutes every single day. And it's no productive time, but I read every single day for that reason. Because I just have a wee bit of knowledge to impart. Why do you think I watch so many podcasts? Why do you think I watch so many? It's like, you know, it's almost addictive. But I tell you what, the information that goes in and the learnings I get and the teachings I get is phenomenal in terms of where I am now and where I think I could be. But it's having faith in yourself to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, wise words there, Jim. And I really think that it is important. I think the half an hour thing is really, I could relate to that. And I think that if you want to make changes, if you want to change your life and see things change in the next 5 years, then you need to make these small changes. And it doesn't have to be big, drastic changes to your life. Get up half an hour earlier, start eating differently, or if you want to have a better diet, do it slowly. Don't try and cold turkey Monday, I'm not going to eat anything ever again. And do you know what I mean? And it's doing it just bit by bit. And I think these small changes, you in a year, 2 years, and as you go on, you'll notice how it has a positive effect on you. And I think it's really important the surrounding yourself with the right people and associating with the right people as well.
Well, the very word diet, it's talk about eating plans, a good eating plan. Never talk about the word diet. Get rid of the diet from your vocabulary straight away. Because it's just exactly what it is. Die. That's what it is. Diet.
Yeah.
Now, disease is exactly the same. Mark Wilkinson talks about this, right? Mark talks about this all the time from Bob Proctor. Disease, it's dis-ease. So just reword, rethink, refocus, re-educate yourself in a different way. It's not a disease. It's just a dis-ease. Dis-ease. It can be accommodated and it can be sorted. And it's just the same with diet. It's an eating plan. It's a proper eating plan. It's not a diet. And you may think that's absolutely stupid and absolutely daft, and you're sitting there going, laughing, this guy's off his head. One of us is super wealthy. Just remember that.
Yeah, I think, but to look at it like that changes your perspective and your mindset on, say, obviously a diet. It's not a diet. It's an eating plan. And I think to change that terminology is definitely a good idea.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And on that note, we were never going to get round to what we're meant to be.
I've got it all set up to, but we'll do it another day.
We'll do it another day. I had average house prices there. I had the pensions. I had my pension printed out. I was going to tell you what that was going up and all the rest of it. We'll do that next week. So we'll talk about that next week. So next week we're going to talk about average house prices, performance of pension plans in comparison to that as well as other some exciting things. Listen, guys, if you've got something you want to talk about, by all means, stick it in the comments and we will talk about that in one of the weeks. That is the whole point of this show, to educate people in different areas, and you'll probably educate me in the process as well. And that's what I love, and the fact that everybody's helping everyone. Remember, final words, Richard, from you.
Well, I was just going to say, could I quote the bit that I had written at the bottom? And it's nice to know any day you wish you could change your whole life.
Yeah. And my one is a rising tide lifts all ships. So let's all rise together. Bye-bye. See you next week.